What is going on, you guys? Welcome to today's video. Today is finally the day we're putting the upgraded clutch into the VR6 Turbo Wagon. No more spinning clutch. Actually able to drive this car to its full potential. Right now the car is set to about 12 PSI, but we can't make it there because at about 4 to 5, it just blows the clutch out because the last shop put a standard VR6 clutch in a VR6 Turbo. So that's no good. We want to drive this car to its full potential. So right over here, we have what's gonna fix that. This is the ClutchMaster FX400, good to about 550 wheel horsepower, I'm told. We have the lightweight steel flywheel, the 6-puck clutch, and the upgraded pressure plate. This is gonna make this thing do full rips, and I cannot wait to actually get a 12 PSI and just stay in it. It's gonna be sick. Obviously, after we do the break-in miles, but this is the first step to full rips in this thing. Now, obviously, as you can see, we have a good bit of work ahead of us. Now, doing the actual clutch on a VR6 is super easy to do. It's just getting to the position to actually do it. Now, this car's also all-wheel drive, so we have the drive shaft or prop shaft in the back that also need to be disconnected. I think my plan of attack for today, and also I have the lift here, which is gonna make this so much easier, or at least hopefully a little bit easier. Plan of attack, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the battery out and some stuff up here so I can get to the bolts on the top side of the trans, lift up the car, undo the prop shaft, the axles. I think I'm gonna take off this wheel and maybe pull this whole axle out. So hopefully I have enough room to slide the transmission this way and then down. That's the hopeful goal. I know it's very, very tight being a VR6 and not a VR5. There's not quite as much room to wiggle left and right, but I think we should be able to get this done today. So like I said, before we put the car up in the lift and tackle the bottom side of the install, I have to remove some of this mess here to access the bolts on top of the trans. Now, Miley has a shave bay. All of this stuff is gone, but dealing with a factory engine bay car pretty much, there's a lot of mess in the way. So we'll go through and get the battery out, battery tray, maybe the throttle body and some of this piping through here, and a few other things just to make it a little bit easier to work on this top section here. All right, so quick update. We have the battery and the battery tray. All that's out and out of the way. I moved the power steering reservoir over to the side, so that's out of the way as well. We've undone the bolts back there that hold the shift cable bracket of the trans. That's off. And the linkage on the trans is also off of the tower. That's out of the way. Next, moving over to this side, getting all the plugins off of the reverse tower here, the starter, all that kind of stuff. Once that's done, I'll go to the actual bolts that are kind of, you can't really see them, but they're like underneath the hoses here. There's one there. I think there's one on the back side over there, and one or two in the front. One's through the front mount. We'll try and get all those done on top. And once all is disconnected, we'll go to the bottom side and start doing axles, the rear shaft, and the rest of the bolts. Making progress, boys. Our first trans bolt is officially out and out of the way. I think everything on the trans side is off now. I got the line down there for the slave cylinder off, and I put a spare hose on it to keep the fluid from going everywhere. All the stuff to the starter, all that wiring is gone out of the way. Like I said, I got the first bolt. You gotta kind of like, when you have a stock engine band and all the hoses in the way, gotta get kind of creative in how you get to where you need to go. But I got that first top bolt, you can't see it, but the first top bolt here is out. I'm gonna work my way down to the starter bolts now. And I'm gonna do the top one. I think I might go for the bottom of the car now and see what else I can get to, but I think everything on the trans side minus the trans mount in the rear is off and out of the way. All right, so trans bolt number 2 is now out. This is the one that's right to the left of this center point one. The next one is down on the backs of the trans, like right above the diff, which is back over there. I think I'm gonna go up with the car now and try and reach over. Might be easier to go from like the bottom side up versus the top side down. And then the rest are all the starter ones on the front side. So I think we're gonna go up to the car. I think everything on the top side is good to go. 2 top bolts, shift linkage, line to our slave cylinder, all the harness stuff. I think we're good up here. All right, let's see what we got going on down here. So we have a bolt there. You have the bottom starter bolt there. There's that bolt up there that goes to the front engine mount, and there should be one more starter bolt up top. You can see right there. Oh, it's missing. Lovely. Is it actually missing? Yeah, it is. Wow. My top starter bolt is not there for whatever reason. Okay, so that's one less bolt to pull out. Fantastic. And then the other one is, you can look through there, you get to, it's right above this, which now seeing from down here, I might be able to go from this side. We'll see. And then there's 3 bolts there, 10 millimeter 12 point, I want to say, that hold the rear drive shaft to the diff. And then after that, we can separate it and then hopefully have enough room to bring it on out of here. First thing I'm gonna do is do the axle bolts on both sides and then move to the rear and do the drive shaft. Now, I said it before, but I'm gonna say it again. Make sure with your axle bolts, you use a triple square only. A Allen bit will fit in there, but more than likely you're gonna strip it out, and that's not what you wanna do. So make sure triple square only. I believe it's an M6 for the Mark IIIs. Once you have the bit in, give it a couple taps, make sure it's fully seated into the top of the bolt there, and then just give it a couple little taps, nothing crazy. Shouldn't take too much. So that, the bolt's out. And then you have 6 to go, so just rotate it around. But take your time, make sure you seat it all the way in there, and then just give it little taps. If you don't have an impact gun, just put a flathead through your rotor and then break it free by hand. But either way, just make sure you don't strip these out. You've come so far at this point, you don't want to ruin your day now. Nice and easy. Now it's kind of funny, I was just saying you don't want to strip out an axle bolt. Now thankfully, nothing's stripped right now, but I want to show you this real quick, because when I put this car back together, all the axle bolts on this passenger side were correct. But if you look in here now, you see that right there? That, my friends, is a socket head. That is not a triple square. So I can almost guarantee the guy who put this back together either stripped it going in or stripped it going out or broke it, but yeah, that's the wrong bolt on there. All right, so one thing I forgot to mention, if you are working on an all-wheel drive car, make sure to leave one of your axle bolts into the trans itself and leave the trans in gear. That way I can move the whole drive shaft from here. That way you can get to all the bolts. All right, so drive shaft has been split. You can see it right there. I'm hoping I can push the drive shaft back far enough that the little input shaft is out enough, but we'll see. If not, I'll have to pull the exhaust midsection here out and split the drive shaft right up in there. Axles are off, so at this point all we have left is the few bolts up there, the trans mount right there, and the one bolt up in the back. And then we can split the trans from the engine, and hopefully we have enough room to drop it on out of here. I'm probably gonna undo the ball joints as well and move the whole knuckle out, giving us more room to get past the axles themselves. But we'll see. Hopefully it's a smooth out. I still can't believe, so this is the bottom bolt to the starter, and now you should see, look at this, right out. Why was there only one bolt in my starter? Where's my top long bolt? Oh, I hate shops. So I literally just said I dislike shops. I go to this side and undo this bolt on the front side of the trans here. Look at this. Didn't even touch it yet. Look at this. Look at this. I didn't break it free. It's just loose. Why? All right, so this here is the bolt that's in the back side of the trans, which is way down there, right to the left side of the diff down there. Yet again, this bolt was hand tight. Actually, like looser than hand tight. It wasn't even snug. I was thinking it'd be kind of annoying to get to, and it's kind of awkward to get down there. And I got the wrench on it, and I thought I was missing the bolt itself because I couldn't like feel the tension of the bolt. Man, no, just not even hand tight. Like I literally just spun out my hand in 2 seconds. So the more I dig into this thing, the more I'm not like what I'm seeing. But thankfully, they pulled the trans out and they didn't actually pull the engine apart. So the engine side should still be from what we did before. So that should still be fine. It runs good, but we're almost there. So that bolt's out. I have the one in the front with the engine mount, and then the one in the rear for the trans mount. And then we can start trying to separate it and get it out of there. It looks like when they pulled this out of the car last time, I can see a loose bolt on the actual diff itself. It's kind of hard to tell, but that top right bolt isn't all the way in. So I'm assuming they separated it from there and then pulled the trans out to keep the rear drive, the drive shaft into the diff there. But I'm gonna pull out all of it together, because if I do pull that off, there's a bunch of fluid in there and I don't have any new fluid to put in. So we're gonna leave it as one unit, which it should still work, we'll see. But we're almost there. So 2 bolts to go, and then we'll start the removal process. All right, one thing I forgot on the all-wheel drive cars, it has a diff brace that goes from the diff to the block. You can see it right there, a little L piece, and it has 2 13s like this that hold it in place. And yes, these were also loose, like everything else on this car. Okay, so let me be the first to say, I wish we would have put a new clutch in this car when we had it apart, but it already had an upgraded clutch when we had pulled it apart the first time. It was holding the previous power no problem, so we really had no way of knowing that the new setup was new setup at less boost wasn't gonna spin the clutch. It just kind of is what it is, but I still wish we would have done a clutch. Number 2, Arguably, it'd be faster to do this job on the all-wheel drive version of these Mark IIIs if you just pull the front of the car and pull the engine out a little bit and do it that way, because with the diff in the front, it's a bit more tedious to get everything off. It's not out yet, but it's just a bit more tedious. So we're almost out now. You can see I've split the trans from the block there. I just went through and I pulled off the rear trans mount itself. That way I have enough room over on this side to slide the whole trans way this way. I was gonna use this lift point to hold it, but it's got like this arm on it, not the flat one, so it's kind of sketchy. So I'm gonna put the car almost flat to the ground, wheel it from the top and just pop it off the side and then set it on the floor and then raise the car back up, and that'll be separate. Yeah, like I said, it would have been easier probably and less time consuming to just pull the front of the car, pull the engine out and separate it that way, but it is what it is. The all-wheel drive, the front diff makes it more difficult because normally it'd be split like right here, but now I have this whole section over here. I was able to get the drive shaft far enough back to separate it, so that did work. And with this out of the way, it should work no problem. But yeah, it's been fun. Learning, slow process, but we're almost there. All right, so my backup's here. So we got everything. I said everything underneath is already done. I was having trouble getting it. It was like past the prop shaft in the back, but it was like kind of catching, so I got it all the way past it now. I have the jack on this side. Can you read the lights for a second? So the jack's on this side now. I'm gonna lift the trans up so it's level, and then we should be able to use the jack and just pull backwards and get it to pop off, I hope. That rear diff in the back is kind of a pain, but I think at this point we'll be okay.
Oh, come on, muscles, let's go.
Now this had no front diff. It should have been out a long time ago, but. Okay, so we had to go back out with the car. It was catching right here on this corner of the flywheel. You can see where it was touching a little bit. So we put the weight back down to get it off of here, and I used a pry bar between these 2 points, and I was able to pop it free. So now you can see that it's past there. So all the weight's now on this, but we have the car much lower now. So I should now be able to kind of scoot it like this way and turn the front side out a little bit, and then move that way and hopefully lower it down. We're pretty maxed out over here, but thankfully taking off that trans mount gave us a lot more room. So I think there should still be enough room to turn it a little bit to the right and then hopefully come down. I hope, please.
Yeah, there. Oh god. It's okay, got it. Just drop it down. Yes.
Okay, before we pull up here, let's roll this back out.
I can hold it. What if you roll it?
Okay. Yeah, she's fine. She's on the ground now. On the ground. All the way to the ground. Gentle.
Nice.
Okay, yeah, grab it there. Got it? Give her a good heat. Yeah, thank God. Wow. That sucked. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie to you. That took an extremely long time, but the trans is out with the front diff as possible. The way we made this work, and honestly how I should have done in the very beginning, we have a jack supporting the engine itself. I undid the front motor mount and then the rear mount as well. So I lifted the engine up a little bit, but the biggest thing, I undid all the subframe bolts. You can see as a jack stand holding the subframe, dropped the entire subframe down and scooted it back just a little bit, and that gave us enough room to get this. The biggest problem is this section, because this hits the subframe and you can't like maneuver it how I wanted to. But once we got that just pushed back just a little tiny bit, it was enough to get it out. So now, I mean, now it's the easy part. Take off that clutch real quick, put the new clutch on. That takes no time at all. It's just getting to that point. But now that we have a good like setup going, putting it back in shouldn't be too bad because again, the subframe's out of the way. The biggest thing is the subframe. So if you're gonna do a clutch on a all-wheel drive, or even, I think with the front-wheel drive ones, you can get it to work out easier than how the all-wheel drive ones do. But if you have an all-wheel drive synchro car, maybe even a 4Motion, if you move your subframe back a little bit, it gives you way more room, lifts the engine, and then you're pretty much good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull out this clutch and inspect it and see which one they actually put back in. I'm pretty sure it's a base model VR6. Then we'll go ahead and install the new ClutchMaster one and then back on and then get out of here. How's that? That's your first transmission. Nice. Okay. The wife putting in work over here with the wire brush. That already looks a million times better than it before. It's not quite, I mean, I would like to pull it apart and paint everything and do new hardware, but we don't have that kind of time. This will suffice. Much better. Okay, so a few minutes later, the old clutch setup is out, and you can see all of the heat spots just all over the flywheel, all over the pressure plate. What's weird is, like I said before, he had them put in a clutch like this before, and he's having weird feelings with it. And then the shop said that he gave them the wrong clutch plate, which is kind of weird because they kept, this is a, you see the number here, where's that? You can see right there. This is a ZF Race Engineering. This is the upgraded pressure plate that he gave them with his clutch. It all came in a kit. Like I said, maybe someone packages the kit wrong, but it's kind of unlikely. They left upgraded pressure plate, put a base. This is a like standard base VR6 clutch. It's not gonna hold the power this car makes at all. So they put a base clutch in, and this is a base like factory flywheel. This thing weighs like a million pounds. It's so heavy. So now we have our new lightweight steel flywheel with the better material, the 6-buck clutch, and the upgraded pressure plate. You can see the material. This is just so much better. This kind of stuff, like, you can't have a car that makes this much power, this much torque, and then have, I mean, the pressure plate was still doing good, which is why I kind of held a little bit, but like this material and this, it just can't clamp down hard enough, and it just can't grip. So this is gonna do its justice. Actually do some full rips in the car, so toss it back in real quick. I mean, this is the easy process. Once you get to here and the trans is out, it takes 2 minutes to pull all this stuff out. It's just getting to this point. But there's a little side by side. This is crazy. I can't believe they put, it makes no sense. I can't believe they put out of this. It makes no sense. All right, so moving on to installing our new setup here. Very easy to do. We have our new flywheel bolts here because you want to replace those once you pull out the old ones. We have our torque sheet from ClutchMaster, so you can see the torque specs for flywheel to crank, and then also pressure plate to the flywheel, so very nice of them. We have our clutch alignment tool, and then our new bearing here. So everything we need to toss in the car. So like I said before, the flywheel will only fit to the crank in one way. There's one of the holes on here, which is this one right here, that's offset from the rest. So whatever the hole is the closest to the inner bore here, and there's one on here, which is that one right there, and it matches up. So this only can fit onto here one way. Also make sure to go through and clean your pressure plate first, because there's a bit of like dust and stuff from shipping, so make sure it's clean, and then you're good to go. Should be that one. Easy part is done. The new ClutchMaster FX400 is in and good to go. And then over here, swapping in the new release bearing and this piece that goes right inside there, and you can see the pinion brace we did last time. So the easy part is now done, and now ready for the fun part of putting this back in the car. Hopefully, since the suffering's out of the way, it goes up and in and seats properly and not too long, and we can get out of here. We'll also have the button back up, bleed the clutch, but hopefully everything's good to go. So I kind of wish I would have recorded all that, but then I also don't, because this video would be about 3 hours long. It's currently 1:20 in the morning, but the trans is back in, rear diff or rear drive shaft is in. We got a couple of bolts in, but you can see it's all mated up. Good to go. You can see the fancy clutch peeking through there. Oh my goodness, like I couldn't even explain to you how we got this back in the car. I mean, we snapped the wood in half, we used the jack as like a lever at one point, and then it was just like, oh my goodness. It was a lot. But I wanted to finish this video today, but it's like I said, it's 1:20 in the morning. The trans is in, the clutch is in, that's all good to go. I'm gonna end this video here. We'll come back tomorrow after I get off work, and we'll finish the last little bit and drive the car. But this video's been long enough, like I said, and I'm just tired. I wanna go eat, I wanna go sleep. It's just been a long, long day, but we got it. So if you have I don't know about a 4Motion car, but you have a Synchro Mark III, you can do the clutch and pull the trans with the engines on the car. It's awful. It's really awful. So if you, new rule of thumb, if your engine's ever out of your car, just put a new clutch in. Just do it. Just stay with the headache. Just put a new clutch in. Call it a day. How was your first trans experience?
I want to go home.
I want to go home just as well. Yeah, the first transmission pull she ever had was probably the most difficult one, but it's all in there. Honestly though, this isn't the bad part. This stupid rear drive shaft, we were stuck in that for a while, but we got it. Got the video here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Do not forget to be thankful for every single day. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Hey, I was doing